It is 10:35, and it is almost refreshing, but not exactly uplifting, to share a degree of confusion and or ignorance about the economic situation, because nobody knows. If it was science, if it was an exact science, then you would simply do X in expectation of Y, or you would add X to Y in expectation of Z. But they don't know. They tweak and they do things. Chancellors disagree with each other. Politicians disagree with each other. And crucially, economists disagree with each other. Richard Murphy, who is a brilliant communicator and for my money, a brilliant economist, has issued a very lengthy thread, which you may have read. I know a lot of you are telling me to read it, that offers up a completely different approach to the current crisis and offers up a very arresting description and analysis of the current crisis, which I think pivots upon one central point, which strikes me, looking at the numbers released by the Office of National Statistics today, as an eminently plausible point. We are heading towards a stage where millions upon millions of people will not be able to pay all of their bills, will not be able to pay their bills. And that will include, of course, energy bills, water bills. And what happens when that happens? And companies, of course, will go under, which increases unemployment. And Richard writes that unemployment is a much bigger problem for a population than inflation. We may talk to him, actually, although I would be amazed if he hasn't been on LBC at least once or twice already this week. But the idea that the Conservative leadership candidate is then being conducted on grounds that barely seem to recognise the reality of what the country is facing is, well, that is your perfect Brexit legacy, I'm afraid. If you're going to prioritise the colour of passports and intangibles like sovereignty and how you feel about foreigners over things like international trade, fiscal responsibility, evidence-based policy making, then you are going to end up in a whole heap of trouble. We'd still be in trouble anyway. If we were still in the European Union, we'd still be facing a lot of these problems, but they simply wouldn't be as big. COVID and Ukraine have created a hell of a lot of problems. So lots of other countries dealing with the aftermath and the impact of COVID and Ukraine, but not dealing with the idiocy of becoming the first country in the history of the world to impose economic sanctions on ourselves. And that's not an opinion. That is, as I often say, that is just counting.